I got a new pair of glasses to go with my wet macular degeneration. And the WMD, you get big holes in your cornea, big blind spots you don't see anything through. I saw an ad for this doctor over in Wilmington for people with low vision and people with wet macular. And I went over to see about it, and I ended up buying the glasses. They have miniature telescopes in the center of the lenses. And it's surprising what I could see with it that I hadn't been seeing. So,
Miniature telescopes.
yes, their glasses are odd. They actually have like a telescope sticking out the front of your lens. They're heavy, but it improved my line of vision by 6 lines.
They don't have a big red nose and a mustache with it.
Yeah.
Glasses do that. Oh, okay. Cool. Were those special? I mean, did you buy them through the doctor's office or?
Yeah, well, this doctor specializes in that. There's none available here in the Raleigh area. They're in Wilmington and in Charlotte.
Well, that's interesting. I'd like to look that up.
And they're specials. Well, Dr. Paul has Paul's Vision Institute.
How about here in Pinehurst on Carolina Eye? Can't they do it?
No.
No? Wow. You invented radial keratotomy here. I think you'd think he'd be able to do that.
Well, they are rather expensive, but I guess given the alternative of seeing and not seeing, it's pretty good. And they talk about the cost of medicines today. And the 2 shots that I get, thank heavens for insurance, they're $5,600 a shot. It's
$5,600 per shot, Mark.
yeah, yes.
That's
I go every 8 weeks.
wow.
Mark, you're a veteran, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
I'm sorry.
If I remember correctly, you're a veteran. Is that right? You served in the military.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So did VA cover all that for you?
I had 26 years in the Air Force. Now I'm at the age, I'm 80 years old, where Social Security and then my TRICARE for life insurance out of the military. What Medicare doesn't cover, TRICARE will cover the rest of it. So I'm fairly lucky with that. So.
Right.
But the VA would cover some of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was thinking you was ex-military for a long time.
Yeah.
Hello.
26 years.
How are y'all?
Fine, how are you?
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Peachy. I miss seeing you guys. I wanted to be in person.
I know.
Oh, well.
I have that it's actually 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
So we will get this show on the road, and I want to welcome everyone. I won't go through our charge as we have a history of always treating each other with great respect and camaraderie. And with that, Chantal or Lana, if you could assist with our roll call and determine quorum.
Yep, absolutely. So just as a reminder, I will say the community name, and I know we've got some delegates and alternates. So if the delegate could say present first, and then the alternate can say that they're here. So I will start with Aberdeen. Anger,
Mayor Bob Smith, present.
thank you. Apex,
Brett Gant, present.
Archer Lodge,
Mark Wilson present.
thank you. Benson, Broadway, Cameron, Carborough, Carthage, Cary, Chapel Hill, Chatham County, Clayton, City of Durham,
Deidreana Freeman, present.
thank you. Durham County, Fuquay Varina,
Larry Smith, present.
Garner, I think I saw the mayor, but I'll come back. Goldston, Hillsborough,
Kathleen Ferguson, present.
Holly Springs,
Tom McGrath present.
Johnson County, Kenley, Nightdale, Lee County,
Ariana LaValle, present.
thank you. Micro, Moore County,
Kevin Drum, present.
thanks, Kevin. Morrisville,
Steve Rao present.
Orange County,
Sally Green, present.
thank you. Pine Level, Pinehurst,
Kevin Drum, present.
thank you.
All right, I went early
you're
on.
You're fine. Okay. Pittsburgh, Princeton, Raleigh, Robbins, Rollsville,
Ronnie Curran, present.
Sanford, Selma,
Byron McAllister, present.
thank you. Siler City, Smithfield, Southern Pines, Bass, Wake County, Wake Forest,
Chad Sari, present.
thank you. Wendell,
Joe Deloach, present.
thank you. Wilson's Mills,
David McGowan, present.
thank you. And Zebulon. Is there anyone that I have missed since I started the roll call?
Yes, this is Wilma Laney. I'm present now. Aberdeen.
Thank you, Mama.
And Lori Bush, Town of Cary.
Thank you, Lori. Any others? I believe we have a quorum.
All right, fantastic. Well, again, welcome everyone. And do we have any changes to our agenda? And hearing none, I don't see any, then we will proceed further. It's always exciting to welcome new staff. It's just one more sign of what a growing and productive organization we are. And so, Jenny, if you would lead off and let us meet our new teammates.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we have in the past year increased from about 30 staff members to 40. So hence all the recent introductions as of late. So we have 4 new staff members tonight that I'm excited to introduce you guys. And we are going to start off with Matt Day, who is going to introduce his new staff member. And Matt Day is our rural transportation program manager.
Hi, so in addition to being our rural transportation guy, I also oversee our data and GIS program. And I'm really excited to introduce you all to Adam Spillman, who is our new data strategy coordinator. This is a new position that we created to help us work on our organizational data strategy and put together a data hub. And we're really excited about the work he'll be doing. So I'm going to hand things over to Adam.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I come from primarily a background in education. My previous job for the past 10 years plus was at the community college level teaching GIS classes. Let's see, I'm not sure who's doing the slide. Yeah, thank you. So I'm from around the Winston-Salem area. I've lived in North Carolina all my life. I went to Appalachian State University and double majored in geography and planning with concentrations in GIS and planning. While I was a student, I worked as a GIS planner for the town of Blowing Rock and also some code enforcement there. Before I went to grad school, I worked for Davie County Development Services in the town of Monksville, also as a GIS planner. And when I was almost finished with grad school, I started working in Lincoln County for the economic development group there, and was the research associate for them, doing all of their GIS and mapping, site research, statistics, any of the sort of data publications and things that they gave out to companies, and some additional duties to that. While I was working there, I started teaching part-time at some surrounding community colleges, geography and also GIS classes. And when a full-time opportunity became available, I moved into that for about the next 10 years, actually, and branched off into several different schools, including North Carolina A&T and Isothermal Community College, and eventually became the program chair for geospatial technology, geomatics technology, and even civil engineering for a short period of time, but that was more of a temporary sort of situation there. You can go to the next slide. So I was really excited when I found this job initially. One of the first things that I always do when I see a promising job, I go to their website and I look at the staff page, I look at the mission statement, I look at all of these things. And I really liked what I saw there, not just the variety, but also the values. And, you know, every job that I've ever had has been serving the community in some form or fashion. And that was the first thing that I noticed about this organization, was that it sort of, if I was to get the job, that I would be able to continue that thing that's so important to me, and that your mission statement is certainly something to be proud of. I think my education and experiences will benefit the organization. There in parentheses, I put my OCD will help. Definitely the jobs, the tasks that they've set for me. OCD is not necessarily a bad thing, especially as it pertains to the creation of the maps and stuff. It can be a huge ally in making things as good as they can possibly be. And as a North Carolina native, I think Tj Cox is in a great location. And again, just its mission, the things that it does, and the current crisis, the current past couple of COVID years, this is the kind of organization that I would want to be a part of in order to help North Carolina, help communities in North Carolina, and help people in your region. I think that if you were seeking a new job during this time period, that again, this is one that you can be proud of, because the past couple of years really needs organizations like this to kind of pull everything out of the darkness there. And also, local government has just always been very interesting to me. And when I learned more about Tj Cox, I thought it was fabulous, with all of these towns and counties, working together. Even this meeting with so many members present, I like to think of it as like one-stop shopping. I can be involved with a variety of towns and counties and employees working for those towns and counties. Whereas if you worked for a specific city or something like that, you might be a little bit limited in your experiences, and a council of governments doesn't have that problem. Okay, next slide. Or wait a minute. Yeah, that's the end of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working with all of you, and some additional duties and stuff that I'm going to have there. The Data Hub website, the data strategy, random data requests, like I mentioned at my previous employer, map statistics, demographics, analysis, those sort of things. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have if you email me. I'm looking forward to interacting with you in the future. And hopefully, especially as it pertains to the Data Hub, maybe at the next meeting or a couple of meetings from now, have something to show you, like a tangible product there that you can begin working with.
Thank you, Adam. We're so excited to have you on board. And now I'm going to hand it over to Elena Keegan to introduce her new staff.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm very excited to introduce another member of our staff who's in a new position, similar to Adam's position. This is a new role for the COG. It's our grant specialist. Brandy joined a couple of weeks ago, so she's very new, but she's very excited to get introduced to all of you. So I'll turn it over to Brandy.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. As Elena just gave my introduction, I am Brandy. I'm the new grant specialist with Tj Cox. So diving into the presentation here, with my educational background experience, I graduated from North Carolina Central University with a bachelor's in criminal justice. I later decided to further my education in public administration. I graduated in 2020. During that time of earning my master's in public administration, I was granted the opportunity to work with the city of Durham. I worked with the transportation department as an administrative specialist. So I worked really closely with the transit administrator and the director, where I was responsible for managing projects and providing support, contract writing, preparation, management. We did a little grant writing, reportings. We did a little preparing bids, RFPs, and purchase orders related to transit-related projects. And majority of bulk of my experience with them as well is managing procurement files for state and federally funded projects. So to go along with that, as far as my achievements working with the city, which was really big accomplishments for me, I was successful in leading the transportation department in a successful triennial review. We were able to go through auditing with only 3 findings. So that was a big deal for the department and very successful. I was also a part of being responsible for getting the City of Durham's Transportation Department funding for the North Carolina Volkswagen settlement. And that helped the city to be able to purchase a 3rd additional electric bus. And they're planning to add a few more electric buses to their systems as they go along. I was also a part of them being awarded funding for the 5310 grant program, federally funded program. We could skip forward to the next slide. So working with Tj Cox, what I'll be working on is a grant management assistance program. So I'll be working with members of the community, engaging with them and doing proposal developments, grant writing, portal management, grant tracking, and resource assistance, all things proposals, strategic consultations. So just sitting down, scheduling quarterly meetings with local government members and stakeholders and identifying priorities and goals and looking for different grant funding opportunities to explore and apply for. And then another part of my plan is to help identify and maintain an internal database to identify certain needs of these communities and funding projects, and just being able to successfully create a grant managing portal for all community, our community members and project leaders to be able to easily access. As far as my professional developments, for me, my main goals for the organization, again, is just structuring a successful grant management process, maintaining the effective communication between project leads, community members, and just being able to stay up to date on grant management, grant opportunities, publications, conferences, webinars, and just staying up to date with new knowledge and skills to be able to bring to present to the organization. All right. So why work with Tj Cox? Well, first, when I saw this question, I asked myself, why not? The whole purpose of me earning my master's in public administration, I went in with the thought of me wanting to help the public, give back to the public, and just giving and being able to be that forefront in, getting different opportunities for rural areas of the communities. And so with Tj Cox, I felt like this would be a great opportunity for me to dive in, get involved with the local communities and contributing, providing, and seeing what needs to be accomplished, and seeing how we can make local communities a better place for, all residents. Secondly, I believe in the mission, values, priorities of the agency, being responsive, proactive, and reflective to the regions that we serve. And that is with serving service to our members of our government, data-driven decision-making skills, and promoting diversity, equity, and inclusivity. Being able to, and also, my third point, this was crucial to me to be able to be in a stable position, somewhere that has great benefits and somewhere where there's new learning opportunities, being able to advance and grow within the organization. So that was a really good big thing for me, the reason that I chose to work for Tj Cox. So I'm really excited to dive in, to meet with all of the community members and get engaged and see how I can better assist everyone. And just hopefully we can have a successful grant managing process here. So thank you guys.
Well, welcome. We're so thrilled. Oh, yay. I'm about to jump in the gun. Yay, more.
Sorry. So I'm going to hand it over now to Erica Brown, who is our housing program manager, to introduce her new staff.
Thanks, Jenny. So I'm really excited, like everybody else, to have a new staff member working on housing. Anna came to us actually from Orange County. She was working with housing and community development there. I'm sure she'll talk to you more about that. And really, she's just helping us continue to increase our capacity for technical assistance. She's also helping with Jack, who talked a little bit at the last meeting in October, and they are working together on our home repair programs. And really, especially right now with a lot of additional ARP funding and other types of support that the COG is getting, we're able to think more about regional housing solutions. So that's sort of a long-term plan, having Anna on our team, but I will let her go ahead and do her thing. Thank you.
Erica. Yeah, like everyone else, really happy to be here. And we can go on to the next slide and I can share a little bit about my prior experience. So I'm originally from East Tennessee. And after my undergrad, I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, so not too far away from home. I was a development manager at a refugee resettlement nonprofit in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's where my heart for housing really kind of picked up as we continued to see refugees coming to town who weren't able to find affordable housing when they first came to the city. So after a few years working there, I came to North Carolina to get my master's degree at UNC in urban and regional planning, focused on affordable housing and community development. I did my master's project with the town of Carrboro, focusing on utilizing public land for infill development for affordable housing. So would be happy to talk about that at any point if anyone is interested in using public land for housing or other purposes. And then, as Erica mentioned, I was just working as a community development specialist at Orange County, working with their emergency rental assistance program, doing some direct client service, and then also some analysis from listening sessions, getting some feedback from clients about what really worked and what could be improved. Developed a minimum housing code enforcement program, as well as working on some housing data analysis for the upcoming master aging plan through Orange County, as well as some home grant monitoring. So working on my projects at Tj Cox, as Erica said, I'll be working with Jack on the administration of home repair projects, as well as home repair through the U.S. Department of Agriculture's grant, working with the town of Cary on CDBG program, and then also that general research that Erica was speaking about as well, focusing some on tax assessments with equity there, as well as kind of general stakeholder engagement, data analysis, and research and development around other regional housing initiatives. And then why Tj Cox? I think everyone has said this, but just the service to our local governments in the region. I personally heard a lot about Tj Cox while I was getting my master's at UNC, so I knew of some of Tj Cox's housing work already, and was really excited about getting this opportunity to have a more regional approach to housing affordability. That's something I saw both at my during my grad school studies, as well as at Orange County, just how everything is so overlapping, especially in this region. So I love the focus on housing affordability, and still getting to work with clients through our home repair program, as well as kind of the technical assistance, advocacy, and policy development side.
Thank you, Anna. And we have one more staff who is with us for a year through AmeriCorps. So I'm going to hand it over to Maya Kosh-Sluse, who is our Water Resources Planner, to introduce Caroline.
Thanks, Jenny. So Caroline's joining us through next June, and she actually started a couple of months ago, but due to timing, she's introducing herself at this meeting. She just started at the end of August and will be managing education and outreach for us. Has already gotten a lot of good work done in Tj Cox member communities through our Clean Water Education Partnership. So I will go ahead and pass it off to Caroline to introduce herself.
Thank you, Maya. So yes, I'm Caroline. I am also a North Carolina native. I was born and raised in Chapel Hill. I just graduated this past May with my bachelor's in chemistry from Scripps College out in California, where I focused on environmental and atmospheric chemistry. My work up to this point has been primarily in air quality. That's what I did my undergraduate research in, and I got the chance to intern with the Office of Air Quality at the EPA last summer. I also have experience working with elementary school aged kids and a general interest in environmentalism. Go to the next slide. So like Maya said, I am working in QUEP, which is the Clean Water Education Partnership, sort of falls under the umbrella of Tj Cox. So we do direct education for our partner communities around the issues of stormwater pollution and water quality. So what I've been doing these past couple months is a lot of tabling, a bit of visiting with schools, as well as libraries and after-school programs. And I'm hoping to be able to lead some outdoor hands-on activities like stream watch and other activities to engage folks with their waterways. And then in my spare time, I work on social media engagement. And I am also working on getting my environmental education certificate to support my ability to do all of this education. And then why Tj Cox? Like everyone else has said, it just is an amazing organization that has so many people with diverse expertise that I'm excited to learn from. I enjoyed my internship at the EPA, but the regional and local government scale feels more impactful. You really get to see folks on the ground and engage with the public. I'm excited to develop my skills in both education and a regional perspective of resource management, and also just the chance to serve the community that raised me through my AmeriCorps service here. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Caroline. I appreciate all of you guys taking a few minutes out of your night and doing that for us. We are super excited to be growing our team here at Triangle J, so thank you all.
Yes, welcome. It's, Anna, of course, we hate to lose you from Orange County, but I know you will serve the region well, and the same with Adam and Brandy and Caroline. We're so excited to have you. Thank you. Yes, welcome, and very glad. So with that, we will move on to recognize.
Kathleen?
Yes?
Mark Wilson, Archer Lodge. Does Brandy have a telephone number?
Brandy.
I will take that for her. I am in the middle of assigning her that, so she does not have one quite yet. But I will get it to you when she does.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Apologies. Any other questions? I don't want to miss any. All right, but we will move on to recognition of our outgoing delegates. It's always with a little bit of sadness to say farewell and see you later, because I don't believe in goodbyes, but want to recognize Kevin Drum from Pinehurst, Cheryl Oliver from Selma, Tim Knupp from Goldston, Christopher Nance from Carthage, Michael Fiocco from Pittsburgh, and Jason Wunsch from Fuquay Varina. Each of you have contributed greatly to the quality, the discussion, the decision-making, the engagement of Triangle J and your communities. We thank you for your service. We thank you for bringing voice of your communities here at Triangle J, and we are pleased to recognize you for your service. And I don't know if you wish to say anything, but the floor is yours for anyone who wishes to speak and for anyone of our delegates who wish to express their appreciation for our outgoing delegates.
I guess I'll start. I just want to thank everyone. I think I've learned more from you all than I helped. I think that I believe in regionalism so much. I hope I brought it back to my council how important the Triangle J was, and you know, every time we met, I went back and told them you know, the importance of this group and how important it is for us to stay engaged. And I want to thank you all for your friendships, and I've learned a lot from the staff and Lee himself, and I'm just very grateful, and thank you.
Thank you.
This is Cheryl Oliver from Selma. I want to say it's been a privilege to be a part of the board, both as a delegate and alternate delegate. And although I will not be continuing to do so, I do want to let you know I'll be continuing to follow a number of the projects that you have ongoing, because they're important to a lot of avenues around the region. So again, thank you. And if I can ever be of assistance to the COG, don't hesitate to ask.
I second that too.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, again, thank you so much for your service. We are indebted for what you have given to us. I know that you will continue to serve in different capacities, and I'm sure our paths will cross again. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we will proceed on to our business at hand. Excuse me. And we will begin with the Community and Economic Development Program updates from Lindsey Whitson.
Hi, thank you, Chair. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Lindsey Whitson. I'm Community and Economic Development Program Manager, and I'm here to give an sort of annual update of some of the work that we've been doing under this program over the past year. So I'm very excited to be here tonight. When I was sort of crafting some of the projects that we've done or are currently doing or have completed, it was very exciting to really put all of those on paper and realize how much work we're doing. So I'm excited to share some of that. Next slide, please. This is Tj Cox. Oh, excuse me. I think, Elena, can you go back one slide? I think we skipped. Oh, well, there was a slide missing. So tonight I plan to talk about the Community and Economic Development Program area in general, as well as our Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or Seds, CEDS for short. We have to report annually to our partners at Economic Development Administration and sort of illustrate some of the implementation efforts that we have ongoing with our Seds. And then lastly, I'm going to end tonight talking about what's next with community and economic development, and want to engage this group a little bit to get some of your feedback. So this slide you can see is just our community and economic development mission. Overall, I won't read that word for word, but really focus on building on assets that we have already in the region and intentionally implementing new projects, processes, and infrastructure related to community and economic development. And as I mentioned, we do have our Seds, again, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. So that's a huge part of the work that we do in this program area, and allows us to create sort of a regional roadmap for economic development in the region. Next slide, please. Thank you. So these are some of the project areas. Tonight, I'm going to be focusing a lot on the Economic Development District to start. But we have been trying to grow our presence and work within regional food system development and thinking. Of course, economic resiliency, that folds in nicely to our Economic Development District work. And then through community development planning, we have some zoning and land use work that we've been doing with some of our smaller communities. And then we do have a brownfields and community, a brownfields consortium and focus on community revitalization, as well as I think everyone's familiar with our foreign trade zone. I'm not going to highlight all of these project areas individually. A lot of them fold into some of our Seds work that we're doing. So, but happy to answer any questions at the end specific to any project area. Elena, next slide, please. So as I said, I was going to sort of dive a bit deeper into the Economic Development District. We're designated that title through EDA, which is Economic Development Administration. Tj Cox is one of 400 plus EDDs throughout the country. And what that means is that, again, we are required to create that Seds. It's a 5-year planning document that we created last year. So it's out 2021 to 2026. It also allows us to have, as a district, one of our missions is to leverage funding and partnerships throughout the region. And so with that action, we're able to reduce duplication where it makes sense. And then one big effort of the program area and of the Economic Development District in general is like implementing those action plans that are outlined in the Seds. And then again, having this regional planning process and these action plans outlined in our Seds helps to strengthen our federal grant proposals. Next slide, please. So this is just a reminder of what the Seds is. It's a strategic driven process that helps us to create a regional roadmap for economic development. So the above components just sort of outline what's essential in an effective Sed. So of course we want to be applicable to our region. What's happening in other states or other regions in North Carolina are different from Tj Cox region. We want it to be a strategic plan, collaborative, private partnership, public partnerships, community rooted partnerships, et cetera. We want it to be integrative, meaning that it aligns with other regional and local plans in place, like our Metropolitan Long Range Transportation Plan, our Triangle Resiliency Plan that was created a couple years ago. And then we want it to be adaptable. Obviously, if the economic climate of our region changes, we need to change and evolve with that. And then lastly, we hope that it's impactful. Again, leveraging those partnerships and funding opportunities are important. Next slide, please. And just a reminder, these are the goals that were created throughout last year's engagement process, which was a little bit weird. A lot of it was virtual, so it wasn't originally how I had imagined it being, but we involved tons of stakeholders, member governments, and I do have a Seds steering committee. And so throughout that process was able to grab common themes from that and a public input survey and come up with these 5 goals. And so one thing that I'm going to talk about tonight, and you'll see under consent agenda that I'm going to be asking for approval of our annual Seds interim report. That is something that, again, the document is a 5-year document, but in those interim years, we have to provide an annual update. Basically stating, here's what we're doing to implement some of the actions in our Seds, and here's how we are evaluating those efforts. The document's not complete yet. It should be over the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to run through some of the successes or projects that we're working on under each of these 5 goals tonight. And then once the document is completed, it will be uploaded to our website, but Elena can also send it out for the board to review. Next slide, please. And then next slide. So goal 1, business retention, expansion, and innovation. And again, as I mentioned, some of the other project areas fold nicely into this work. So we wanted to piggyback off on some of the work that we're already doing throughout the region and Tj Cox. So, everyone's familiar with our FTZ 93 program. We were able to gain 3 new sites this year, Amazon, Store, and Brightview. So that was exciting. And then also we do have a new grantee administrator, Alex Holloway. He introduced himself last month and at the board meeting. And I think one thing we're interested in doing is expanding the program and seeing how we can get participation from some of the counties where there aren't businesses involved in that program yet. So we're looking into ways to also increase our marketing materials and working with the counties in the Curtar region to the north of us that are a part of that program. And then under the innovation area, I wanted to just touch base on the sandbox. I spoke about that to this group a few months ago, but really allowing us to have a space to ideate, design, and prototype to find solutions for public sector problems. And this year we decided to focus on something related to economic resiliency or economic in general. And the winning proposal was around construction waste and a circular economy. So we're underway with that effort right now and working with our advisory committee, still sitting in the ideate phase, but excited to see where that process is going. And then lastly, I just really wanted to highlight that a lot of these partnerships that we've been building over the year are crucial to us taking next steps into project development and implementation. So I've met with tons of entrepreneurial support organizations. This is just a couple to name, but First Flight, Riot, and Forward Cities are a few that we've been in touch with and started to develop partnerships with. Next slide, please. And this is goal 2, robust infrastructure. The RAISE grant, and I wanted to mention that not all of these projects are specific to community and economic development planners at Tj Cox. Community and economic development obviously encompasses a lot of or all of our program areas. So myself and the people that I work with in community and economic development aren't responsible for all of these successes. So the RAISE grant was submitted on behalf of Go Triangle and in partnership with Tj Cox, MPOs, and a few other regional partners to create a guidebook and visioning process centered on the development of a regional transportation service and its intersections that it has between housing and land use planning. I just found out today that unfortunately it was not awarded, but I think that it's a good step in us moving forward with continuing this conversation. We're going to potentially be seeking out an EDA grant for it or looking for other funding sources. So I also wanted to mention that we have a staffer right now who's building a regional CIP database by looking at communities, capital improvement plans and pulling from those and seeing if there's places for connectivity so we can make recommendations on a regional scale. And then everyone met Adam earlier, but the data strategy coordinator positions, the conversations around that started months ago, but how can we create a regional data hub and how can it best support our members and their needs and help us and our members make informed and data-driven decisions. Next slide, please. And then goal 3 is workforce development. Again, wanting to point out the relationship building aspect because, a few years back, we did not really have a strong relationship with our workforce development board. So I'm very proud of being able to lean on each other now and have those open-ended relationships that we've established. Also working with community colleges and have been recently introduced to staff at all 3 HBCUs in our region. And so another item that we're working on related to workforce development is there is an EDA Good Jobs Challenge grant that's due in January, and Tj Cox is the lead applicant in partnership with a few of our counties, Wake County, Durham, and Johnson, and we're working with workforce development boards, community colleges, and the whole concept is around creating a regional workforce system that then leads to effective program designing, and lastly, program implementation and providing wraparound services that address like transportation barriers and childcare barriers and career coaches. Next slide, please. And so goal 4 is our connected and vibrant places goal. And so I've mentioned our Brownfields Consortium and our focus on that project area. And so we do have a volunteer membership consortium. And on behalf of them, we are applying for a Brownfields assessment grant through EPA. And then we've also been able to create educational materials. You'll see the image to the right. We had a staffer who created a Brownfields redevelopment toolkit on ARC Story Map. It's very cool educational item that staffers and elected officials can quickly reference when speaking with developers or potential funding sources to redevelop a brownfield site. And then I also wanted to highlight again some of the work we're doing within food systems thinking and planning. A lot of it has been conversations, and it includes identifying gaps and connecting all of the different stakeholders in that field. We have applied for a couple of grants, and I'm actually going to talk about that in a future slide coming up. But I know that a lot of different stakeholders have really said they want TJ Cog to be that convener and facilitator of a regional process. And then lastly, we have a couple questions at the end of my presentation, but we have been discussing what it would look like if we were to create some sort of food system workshop or academy for elected officials and government staff around like regional food system thinking and looking at sort of the history of food system development in our region. And we've been working with a couple of our local food councils to address that type of workshop. And then I just wanted to point out, we've spoke about our equity dashboard, but it's on TJ Cog's website, and we plan to build upon it. But it illustrates real life cases of how equity and inclusive practices are being implemented throughout the TJ Cog region. Thank you. Yeah, next slide. And this is the last goal. And so economic resiliency, obviously very important. And I just wanted to highlight some of the work that we've been doing in rural communities specifically underneath this goal. We've helped Siler City, and we're in the process of working with Carthage on their SERI report, which is an economic recovery and resiliency process spearheaded by NC Commerce. We also applied for Princeton to be a part of the next cohort that starts in January, and we were awarded that. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be telling you this, but they did tell us that it was the best application. So I'm very happy for our fellow who did that. And then we also are going to be helping Bass in the upcoming year. And then we helped at the beginning of this year 6 communities with 160D updates, and we continue to help Moore County and Pine Level with their comprehensive plan so that they are in compliance with 160D. We also we served as steering committee members for Siler City's economic development strategy, have been providing planning assistance to a number of communities. We have a staffer that goes into Moore County, Pine Level, and Princeton weekly, and we'll be having someone going into Benson starting soon. We have a Tri-Cities group, which is Southern Pines, Pinehurst, and Aberdeen, and it allows us to have a space to encourage the 3 communities to develop and grow together, and sort of a peer exchange network. We provided operational and financial support to the town of Cameron, and we are thinking about what a code compliance business model would look like for a shared cost position, and hopefully we can start rolling that out next year. There has been a lot of interest, but we're continuing to think about that business model and what it would look like. And then grant development, this isn't specific to rural communities, but in general, just lots of conversations around that and strategy building around grant development. And then Brandy introduced herself, our new grant specialist, but some of her time will be dedicated to internally building our grant program and processes, which will in turn help us to help all of you. Next slide, please, Elena. And so one thing that the Interim Seds annual report asks us to do is evaluate our progress on action plans and goals. I think that partnership building, we get an A+. It's a lot of work, but I think it's paid off and it will continue to, but I do think that we need to continue to build those partnerships and maintain them. I think that when evaluating the work that we've done, identifying gaps is always at the forefront of most of the work we do. So, I think that that's been an important process for us throughout our Seds implementation efforts. I always put patient and just understanding that these processes are typically not linear. And so that's an important process or an important item for us internally to recognize when we are monitoring our progress. And then I think a lot of the work that we're doing is, and I hope that it is helping capacity build both internally and externally. And then of course we wouldn't be here without our member governments. And I would like to think that the work that we're doing is assisting to meet the needs of you and your communities. And then obviously remaining in compliance with EDA is always very important. And we were always very, very diligent about that process. Next slide, please, Elena. So again, what's next? Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so I just wanted to run over some of the grants that we've that we submitted this year, and hopefully we get funded some of them, if not all of them. But the EDA list, you can see we applied for a grant in partnership with PERTAR and Upper Coastal Plain recently, related to the food sector and a supply and demand study, and what does it look like on both sides of the spectrum. And then we submitted an Alamance and Chatham County EDA proposal around the Haw River and how do we boost tourism and local economies around trail towns. I mentioned the Good Jobs Challenge that's underway right now. I've supported non-governmental partners in EDA grants such as Electricities in St. Augustine. And then currently we are submitting our partnership and planning investment, which is basically to just reinstate our EDD status. And then throughout the last few months, especially, I've submitted tons of Seds consistency letters to partners across the region. And that's just to illustrate that their proposals are in alignment with our regional Seds. And then, like I said earlier, we are submitting a brownfield assessment grant, and if awarded those funds, we will be able to use funding to assist with assessments of brownfield sites. And then again, under consent agenda, you'll see I have another item, and that's related to brownfields and our brownfields RLF coalition grant that we are submitting to EPA. It's in partnership with Piedmont Triad Regional Council and West Piedmont Planning District Commission in Southern Virginia. So it's another TRICOG application. And I hope that the board will provide approval to move forward with that. That's really all I'm asking for under consent, is your approval to apply for this EPA Brownfields RLF grant. And again, funding from that will allow us to provide loans to developers related to cleanup of brownfield sites. Next slide, please, Elena. And then we did apply for a USDA grant. It's for the Regional Food Systems Partnership. We have not heard yet if we were awarded that. But again, kind of that thought around what a regional group would look like and what partners need to be there, and also pulling in community rooted practitioners to be a part of that process. I also already mentioned the SERI town of Princeton, so you can go to the next slide. So again, talking about what's next. So if we are we were already awarded all of these grants on this page. So next year we will be administering these. The Emergency Supplemental Historic Preservation grants, those were awarded a year now, and we're still not to construction because of NEPA and Section 108 clearance. And then we were awarded a Water Resources Development Grant program that Tj Cox applied for on behalf of Chatham. So that, it's on behalf of an HOA in Chatham County. They need a Zoom call right now. A culvert replacement and stream restoration. So we'll be administering those funds. Okay. Next slide, please. Right. Again, talking about what's next year. I'm not sure that we have to update our Seds. We're based out of Atlanta, and they want everyone on the same schedule, so other EDDs are, but since we just did ours last year, we might not be updating ours, but I still think it's important to, I'm actually waiting for final word from our EDA regional office, but still want to have inclusive engagement throughout the year and fold those into, the SED, fold responses into the SEDs. And then obviously, like I said earlier, we need to adjust the strategy as needed if the economic climate of our region changes. And always want to make sure that we have an alignment with our other plans and program areas at Tj Cox. I think that's extremely important. And then continue to evaluate the progress on our action plans and goals annually, and if not more, throughout the year. Next slide, please. And then again, next year will also entail to continuing to implement Seds action plans. I think, yeah, next slide's fine. And then what else is next? So beyond the Seds, hoping to expand community and economic development portfolio in general. So obviously it'll be important to meet the needs of our current programs and build upon those. Responsibly and feasibly, but also really wanting to get into other community and economic development related work and helping our members. So there's downtown planning efforts, park and recreation planning efforts, or things like community assessments that any of your communities are interested in us supporting. We're here to help. We currently do comprehensive plans, and I've done some small area plans, but just a reminder that we're able to support in those efforts as well. And then would love to get involved with historic preservation support as it makes sense. We've had some conversations with some communities, but what does that look like moving forward? And then, like I've said in a previous slide, we have a lot of planning services underway, especially for our smaller communities. So would love to have more communities participate in that effort and just broaden those types of services in general. I think we have some Zoom poll questions now. Is that next? And just to give a little bit of clarification, part of the reason we're doing the Zoom poll is because, like I said in a previous slide related to food system thinking and development, if we were to build out some sort of workshop for local government officials and staff, these questions will help us to create a more effective workshop. So I'll be quiet for a minute and give everyone a couple minutes to answer.
Just to make sure, I don't know if everyone's used to Zoom polls, but it should have popped up on your screen. So if it hasn't, you can let one of the staff know and we can try and help you, but there should be 2 questions you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So she counts, she present.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine, can you go to the next slide now, or do we have to wait? Okay, so I just wanted
We've got about half folks have answered, so I'll just give everyone a minute. But
okay, well, this is the next question, and we can't do open-ended questions on Zoom, so we had to ask this, and so I just wanted people to start thinking about this. And feel free to follow up with me after this if you don't want to speak up tonight or you just want some time to think. But what content do you think would be most valuable in some sort of food systems training or workshop for local government officials and staff? And I would welcome any comment right now as well.
I think in my case, I think our council would need a remedial class on it, not an advanced one. And I hate saying that, but I think there's more value in starting at the ground, educating them on the issue.
That's a very good point. Thank you.
There's a question from Sally.
I was just going to answer that question from my perspective in Orange County, where we do have a really dynamic food council. And I know, Lindsey, you've been working with them, and that's great. I appreciate it. They presented, along with our other agricultural and ag economic development related staff, in a work session recently, really at my request, because I wanted my colleagues to understand that what the county was trying to do is a holistic approach to the food system. But even there, I felt like my colleagues who hadn't been involved in it the way I had really thought of it as was not a concept that they'd really thought about. So I think this idea of a government workshop or what have you is a really good one. And I kind of think that no explanation of it can be too basic.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for that. Any others? Okay. Yeah, and then like I said, feel free to email me offline as we continue to build this up. I think there's some chat thing.
Yeah.
Can you see the results? I shared them.
Yeah, we can. All right.
And we'll send out the results after as well. So you no need to feel like you've got to see them right now.
So, yeah, I think that was really all I had. I thank you all for letting me provide some updates on what we've been working on under community and economic development the last year. It's been fun and exciting. And I just would ask that everyone approves the resolution of support that was found in your agenda packet for our Seds annual interim report, as well as the approval to apply for that Brownfields RLF coalition grant.
I'm sorry, I stepped away for a minute. Great report, very helpful. And the only thing I would add, excuse me, just something for us to think about is I want to continue to focus in on, education and the connection to the community college system as a way to reschool and retool our workers, because as we continue to automate, jobs, automation is good, but you're going to see a lot of jobs vanish away. And I think the challenge is going to be, how do we provide those skills to people, to citizens quickly and very fast? And I think that really also gets into the K through 12 education as well. And this is a challenge I see in America. And so I think that, and now we've got worker shortages because in the midst of a pandemic. And that's sort of a separate issue just in terms of people not working, and we don't, but just some things to think about as we continue to explore the connection to education and workforce training, which you've already done. But I think it's the next 4 to 10 years, I think you're going to see a significant momentum swing with people not being able to skill up quickly. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs right now that people can't go into because they don't have the skills. So
yeah, I think the importance of whether we get a regional grant or not, like the partnerships are being built right now. So it's not just, I mean, obviously the end goal is desirable and funding, but the process is important as well. And we're having a lot of conversations that haven't been held before. So I think that's, a good opportunity itself, but thank you for that. We'll continue to build upon it.
Thank you.
Lindsey, this might not be the right time, but I'm going to continue on working with the Moore County Economic Development Entrepreneurial Hub.
Okay.
If I could ask you so we could be in sync with what you're doing entrepreneurially, and you had some slides on some assets for entrepreneurs. If you could share that information with me, so whatever we do in Moore County is aligned with the COG, I'd be grateful, because we're in the information building stage to build a entrepreneurial hub. And obviously Natalie too was
right.
I serve on that. So anything you could do to any data load you can give me, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And Lindsey, this is Sally again. I just want to say this is really great that you all are working on the food system, because I know that, like, as you mentioned, there are a few good, robust food councils in the area, but it really is a regional issue. And this is just a perfect thing for Triangle J to be doing, is to bringing these conversations together and leading them with intelligence and information so that we can move forward. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
While I agreed with her, I said the same thing on being remedial. We have all the assets here in Moore County, the agricultural, the farm to table, and I think government's understanding of it is the problem. I think there's a lot of understanding beyond it, but I think we got to be remedial with government. But entrepreneurially, it's working here in Moore County. A lot of farm to table stuff going on. So it's more about government's lack of understanding that it has to be basic on this government part, but beyond government, it's pretty understandable and being executed right now.
Thank you. And thank you for very insightful comments and feedback. And I see, Lee, that you have your hand up.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Lindsey and her team for the great work that they've done throughout the year. And I just wanted to remind the board that not even a year ago, the COG reorganized based on these strategic focus areas, and we're beginning to roll out these presentations to the board at each meeting. Last meeting, we talked about natural resources and resiliency. This meeting, we're talking about community and economic development, and just how much wonderful work the strategic leadership team, which is each of these program leads, but really the whole staff has done, really focusing in on these strategic areas. And I hope the board sees a significant spike and increase in opportunities for us to really help in a focused way under each of these strategy areas, and helping very directly with our local government members. So, a few years ago, you probably wouldn't have seen planning assistance in local governments or these grants that we have been awarded to help rehab historic structures. So I just really want to give a lot of credit to staff for really working hard, for understanding the board's vision for how we should be providing value, and then actually going out and executing. And what we hope is through these presentations, we actually give you a flavor of what's been happening, but also make sure that we're still staying in alignment with what the board wants us to be doing day to day. So congrats, Lindsey, and to the whole staff for good work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you. And thank you for pointing that out, because the reorganization is, the benefits and fruits are very visible. We're seeing just in the orders of magnitude, exciting new initiatives, opportunities, services, support, innovation. And so I echo our executive director. Thank you to everyone. You're doing extraordinary work. It is appreciated. And we as board want to help you, help us, help our communities. And so please call on us however we can be of service. And with that, we'll move on. It is signed. I think everyone knows this, but the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act is real and very timely. And please, Leslie, let's hear what you have to share with us this evening.
Terrific. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as you said, my opening statement was going to be that it is signed into law. Excuse me, the president signed it on Monday. It's a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal. It's now known, as you see there, as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The legislation overall provides literally hundreds of billions of dollars in new spending over 5 years for transportation, water, energy, environmental mitigation, resiliency efforts, and broadband. So there's more than a dozen new federal competitive grant opportunities also included in this. And all of them are, all of those and many of the policies, I can't do the whole bill, not only tonight, but also in a breakdown. I've outlined all of these new federal competitive grant opportunities in a breakdown of the bill that I'll be sending over to Elena and Brandy later tonight to share with everyone. And I really want to encourage everyone, I should say, to really think ahead about the grants. When you're looking at this bill, when you're looking at the information provided, think about all the different grants that your community might want to pursue and start laying that groundwork now for doing so, because you really don't need to, and you don't want to wait until the notice of funding availabilities are released, because at that point you only have just a few short weeks to respond. And many times in these grants, you have to have, regional partnerships is highly recommended in this bill quite a lot. but there'll be other items within the legislation in terms of, maybe coordinating with some of your neighbors or coordinating with others within your community, whether it be, neighborhood groups or academia or others. So looking at there's a lot of detail in this bill. And so looking at these opportunities and finding a way to think ahead, and also looking at short term, is this a bill or is this a grant that we're ready to go after now? What do we need to do to get ready before that notice is published? Or, well, this is a grant we'd love to go for and we're very interested in, but we're not quite ready, but we know it's going to be funded for at least the next 5 years. So with that information, we can go ahead and start laying the groundwork for the next round in order to prepare, for those future rounds. So like I said, this breakdown is going to have a lot of information. Really encourage everyone to look through it, start planning. The best way to have a winning competitive grant is to start as early as possible. Also wanted to mention again that the IIJA, we don't have one of those great acronyms like the past, MAP 21 and FAST Act and ICE-T, they've always had these great acronyms, but with this one, it's IIJA. So, that's where we are. But there's a lot of priority, like I said, for joint planning within regions and among multiple MPOs. So that's really good for the COG. And they also have some new policy positions that talk about, one of the things that's really new and exciting, I think, is the provisions to provide affordable housing, to bring affordable housing stakeholders to the table and regional transportation planning efforts. So that's a new addition in terms of requirements for MPOs. And I think that's going to be really well received in our region. The other thing that's particularly unique about this bill that is worth pointing out is normally when you have so incorporated into this bill is what used to be the FAST Act. It's now replaced with this law, and it is what's called as the Surface Transportation Reauthorization. And again, that comes along every 5 years. So that's why this is a 5-year bill. But typically with an authorization bill, what occurs is that they give the authority for Congress to spend, the committee or Congress gives themselves the authority to spend the money. And then you have to go to the Appropriations Committee and actually get the funding included in the appropriation bills annually. And then those have to go through Congress annually and get signed into law. What's interesting about this bill is that it included within the legislation, it's funding its own programs through the Highway Trust Fund and what's called guaranteed appropriations. So in those categories, they do not need to go back to Congress for further action. They can proceed. And in fact, the president has challenged the federal agencies with the goal of to implement this bill as quickly as possible to get this investment into the economy, get these projects moving along. There's regulatory issues in there, but there's language in there to streamline regulatory issues, all different kinds of things to try to get this money spent and to be able to see the results and grow the economy through these opportunities. So as part of the way to do that, again, he's been able to say, move forward on this. The funding is there. They don't need additional congressional action. And so through an executive order this week, he also formed a task force for implementation of IIJA and it brought together the federal agencies that have the most relevance to the law so that they could coordinate their efforts and again, get things that have a multiple agency aspect, get them through more quickly. He has appointed former mayor, New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu, who's best known for orchestrating the redevelopment of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. He has now been appointed as the senior advisor for implementation of IIJA. So he's got sort of a transportation czar, if you will, to get this thing going so that the Secretary of Transportation, while involved, has someone appointed specifically for these purposes. So that shows the seriousness of how they want to get this out very quickly. I also want to mention that this legislation is not to be confused with the Build Back Better Act. You will have heard, which is also known as budget reconciliation. You will have heard during the debate on the House side that originally the Progressive Caucus wanted the the budget reconciliation, which is Build Back Better, also known as the social programs, connected with this infrastructure deal so that they went through as one, as one vote for both of them at the same time. There was some opposition to that. I won't get into the politics of it, but at the end of the day, the leadership was able to separate it so that this infrastructure bill could go ahead and go through and get the votes. It had the bipartisan votes. It got the bipartisan votes to move forward. So they were able to separate that with a promise to vote on budget reconciliation a little later this month. So again, those have been separated. This is 1.2 trillion in infrastructure. There's another right now 1.75 trillion targeted for social infrastructure. And the way you can kind of also keep all of this straight in terms of the president's, what he campaigned on was a 3-part economic agenda. And that turned into what was also known as the Build Back Better plan. So don't let them get confused. They really should have named the budget reconciliation bill something else, but it is what it is. So that's budget reconciliation, Build Back Better. But as part of the overall umbrella and the president's plan, he had 3 parts of his economic agenda: the American Rescue Plan, which everyone's very familiar with, the American Jobs Plan, which is now what is known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and the American Families Plan, which is the budget reconciliation piece. So that's kind of how all of these fit, or that is how all of these fit together to help you keep those items straight. In addition to working to get budget reconciliation done, their goal is to have it done before the end of the year. It will have to pass the House. So just so when you see these things in the news so you know what's going on, it will first have to pass the House. Then it will go to the Senate, where it will be modified again. They will make some additional amendments to the bill. And then it will go back. And again, I'm talking about budget reconciliation, infrastructure signed into law. So the budget reconciliation, which has additional components for local governments, will have to go to the Senate. It will get modified, and then it'll go back to the House for another vote. So it's got a little ways to go, but they'd like to get it done before the end of the year. The same time, they also, by the end of the year right now, there's a December 3rd deadline, what's called a continuing resolution for current appropriations. And that's for FY22 spending. And it's through, like I said, through December 3rd. Within FY22 appropriations, there's another, there's literally more hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in grants for local governments in annual appropriation bills, in addition to the ARPA money, in addition to this infrastructure new spending, in addition to what will become budget reconciliation. We have our just regular program that has, hundreds of millions of dollars, like I said, in competitive grant opportunities for local governments. Most of those programs will also see an increase this year because it's the first year that we do not have the budget controls that were in place over the last 10 years as a result of the 2011 Budget Control Act. Those have now expired. And so we don't have sequestration. We don't have the same budget caps. So we expect most of those programs and some of them block grants, CDBG and other items, that those will also see increases. But I mentioned this because what I want to say overall in summary is that between there's more than a dozen new grants in the infrastructure investment just for transportation, as an example, more than a dozen just for transportation. Between that and the regular annual appropriations and potentially budget reconciliation, strongly encourage everyone to pay close attention to all of these competitive grants. There will not be funds like this. I don't believe that in the 30 years I've done this, I've never seen funding like this available, and I do not believe we will see it again. So you really need to focus on looking at these opportunities for competitive grants and preparing ahead for how you're going to go after them, being strategically thinking, if there's something you can do in a competitive grant, maybe you don't want to use your ARP money for that. And so, looking at these different buckets and these different opportunities will allow you to maximize every dollar available. Tj Cox is in the process, obviously, of Brandy's hiring. Terrific timing in terms of making investments in a grants program and having a grants manager. So it's very timely to what's going on. So take advantage of what they're providing. And then one final comment that I wanted to provide, mentioning again the ARPA money. We're also still working on a bill It's got a very, very long title. I just call it the Flex Bill because that's the easiest, but it is HR 5735. It passed the Senate already with under unanimous consent. So easily passed the Senate. We now have a House version. This Flex Bill will allow you to take ARPA money and spend it in the same category, up to $10 million. You can spend it for general provisions, just like the lost revenue clause, but without having to make the lost revenue calculations, the very complicated calculations that are required currently under ARPA. This would give you the opportunity to have $10 million, up to $10 million for general provisions. It would also allow another up to 10 million or 30% of your allocation to go towards transportation approved projects or transportation eligible, including what has just been passed in IIJA, as well as CDBG eligible projects. And it would allow you to use all of your allocation, if you wish to do so, for disaster assistance. So it provides an enormous amount of flexibility to ARPA money. It is supported by the National Association of Counties, the National League of Cities, the State Association, the Governors Association. I mean, just every local government group, state local government group has signed a letter asking for this to go through. We have 3 co-sponsors from North Carolina. We're still working on Congressman Price and Congresswoman Ross. So we're hoping to get those from your region onto the bill. I think we can. And I do think this bill has a very good chance of being attached to another moving vehicle, legislative vehicle, by the end of the year. So we will keep you posted on that. Because again, I believe that everyone can benefit from this additional flexibility in terms of spending their ARP dollars. So that's a lot of information because there's a lot going on in Washington. I often get teased about how much I throw at people, but there's a lot to cover, and I want to do due diligence to get it all out there. I'm happy to answer questions today or otherwise. Always feel free to reach out to Elena if there's anything that I can help track down for you, or any other information or any clarification between all of these pieces of legislation. This is a resource that Tj Cox is investing in. So please take advantage of it and let me know if I can ever be helpful in clarifying all of these different moving pieces. So with that, Elena, I'll turn it back to you for any other instruction.
Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up quickly on Leslie's remarks. I know that was a lot of information, but it's all very useful, I think, as we see things coming from Washington in the next couple of months. I put it in the chat, but I just wanted to reiterate that I am going to send out the summary document of the bill that Leslie just discussed, a couple of other links and resources that you can use related to what's going on in the federal government. And then one other thing that I'll just say, Leslie's obviously a part of this effort from Tj Cox to really engage with the federal government. And we recently had some conversations with Tillis's office as well, where they encouraged us to let them know trends they're hearing from local governments on ARP funds, whether that's good or bad. I know I saw something in the chat come up, just a general comment about ARP. We want to keep that conversation going with their office, that they can help us communicate to Treasury what we're hearing from you about the ARP funds. And so please, at any time, we've also told your staff this, but if there are questions or concerns that you're having with the ARP funding at the local level, please keep us in the loop on that so we can help reiterate that message.
And if I can jump in very quickly, Senator Tillis's office was very clear that any federal funding that a local government is looking at, that to engage the office, and certainly the COG can assist, because the Senator Tillis has made the commitment of, if the federal dollars are there, that they be steered to North Carolina. So it's an opportunity to take advantage of that. And I do see that, Lee, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to address Commissioner Smith's good comment in the chat. I agree with you, Commissioner Smith. I think one of the things we've been thinking about is, just what you said, with the opportunity for multiple types of infrastructure projects or other types of projects maybe hitting the street at the same time. What does that mean for prices? What does it mean for capacity? And, you know, we're certainly have sort of rung that bell toward to the state as they think about things. But I also agree with you that I think it's something we need to articulate to the federal government. So I would think, and we'll talk to your staff about this, but if there are specific concerns or specific issues that you're already seeing around procurement, I think that would be helpful for us to know. The other thing that I would say is we've been encouraging to your staff that there may be opportunities for us to work together for procurement. So if several local governments are thinking about doing a similar type of project, if there's an opportunity maybe to combine that procurement, then that may get somebody's attention more, right? Larger project than somebody else's project that may be smaller. So I think you're exactly right, Commissioner Smith. I think there are some concerns, but I also think there could be some opportunities around joint purchasing and collaboration that may help mitigate some of those concerns. But we also want to articulate that to the federal government because I think it is something that we're going to see. Thank you.
Thank you. And any other brief questions? We have time for maybe one, and then we can certainly take additional questions offline.
I just want to know if we were going to get a summary document to help us share with our municipalities in our county.
Yes, there will be a summary document coming, as well as some other resources that are helpful, but we have one that should be out soon that Leslie's put together for us. And that will also go to your staff directly. So.
And I think it's worth, I was looking at the chat, I'll just mention real quickly as well that Tj Cox did a great webinar in conjunction with and actually is a key panelist from the National Association of Regional Councils, as well as in conjunction with another COG in the state that I participated in, that a lot of folks in the region, a lot of your communities participated in, that went through some of this information as well. But I think in this summary document, it's up to 38 pages. Like I said, I'll just warn you, it's a lot, and it doesn't even cover everything, but it does cover what I felt was most important is these areas with, with competitive grants and detailing as much as I could what they're looking for in these areas, so that again, you can communicate with your communities and with your staff and your directors how they can get ready and go after these dollars. We want to bring every dollar we can to TJ Cox region and make sure that you all have the tools that you need to be able to pursue those funds.
Thank you. Very informative, and this is definitely a once in a career opportunity. And with that, we will move on to our consent agenda. First, does anyone wish to remove any items for further discussion? All right, seeing none, the consent agenda will include the cancellation of the December executive committee meeting. There you go. I won't read it to you. We can see it. Thank you. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Mark Wilson.
Thank you.
Secretary Smith.
Thank you. So having been moved and properly seconded, any further discussion? All right, we'll move on to a roll call vote. And Alana, if you would please assist us.
Yep. So just as a reminder, this time only one delegate vote, one vote per community. So either delegate, or if the delegate's not present, the alternate. Aberdeen.
Will Mulaney, Aberdeen will die.
Anger. Apex.
Brett Gant, aye.
Archer Lodge.
Mark Wilson, Archer Lodge, aye.
Benson. Broadway.
Broadway votes aye.
Thanks, Tommy. Cameron, Carborough, Carthage, Carrie,
Carrie votes aye.
thank you. Chapel Hill, Chatham County, Clayton, City of Durham, Durham County.
Durham County votes aye.
Thank you. Fuquay-Varina,
Fuquay-Varina votes aye.
Garner, Goldston, Hillsborough,
Hillsborough, Kathleen Ferguson votes aye.
Holly Springs, Johnson County, Kenley, Nightdale, Lee County,
Lee County votes yes.
thank you. Micro, Moore County, Morrisville,
Aye.
Orange County,
Orange County, yes.
Pine Level, Pinehurst,
Aye.
Pittsburgh, Princeton, Raleigh, Robbins, Rollsville,
Ronnie Kern votes aye.
thank you. Sanford, Selma,
Byron McAllister, aye.
thanks, Byron. Siler City, Smithfield, Southern Pines, Vass, Wake County, Wake Forest, Wendell,
Joe Deloach in Wendell votes aye.
thank you. Wilson's Mills,
Wilson's Mills votes aye.
thank you. Is there any votes that I missed? Okay.
All right.
I believe we have a vote.
Thank you. It sounded unanimous. Thank you. And I know that the resolution is passed. So for our economic development, there are some happy people and happy staff. So thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the executive director's reports. Lee, do you have anything for us?
I do. I actually have a report and would love to get some feedback from the board on something as well. So let me do the reporting stuff first, and then we can do the feedback after that. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I was able to participate in two things that were actually quite fun today, and just wanted the board to be aware of it. One was our 20-year celebration of our Clean Cities Coalition. It was wonderful to be on that, to celebrate the program of Triangle J that has been in existence for that long. And we've been redesignated by the U.S. Department of Energy for, I don't remember the exact length of time, but we'll continue to be doing that. And congratulations to Sean Flaherty and to Caitlin Rose on our staff for doing a great job with our clean cities. The other thing is excited to report that we are going to be working with Chatham County on a specific project around a management study of considering the pros and cons of them transitioning their nonprofit 501c3 Council on Aging into a county department. So I will be working with the Council on Aging and the county on that with a goal of at least an interim report to the Board of Commissioners mid-January. So that's excited to be doing. I also got to speak today to a Carolina UNC Chapel Hill MPA class. And so it's always great to go back to the School of Government where I was sitting there 20 years ago as a student and be able to speak to students who are excited about public service. I'm really optimistic about the future. And they were very interested in regional councils, especially that they would be able to possibly work with multiple local governments and work on really interesting issues. And so it was one of the more engaged classes I had been in quite some time. So that was really exciting to see. I also wanted to give some kudos, and I always worry about this when I do this, that I've missed something that's been awarded, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyways. And if I've missed somebody on staff, they'll let me know. But today we got a notification, really excited that we were awarded a $440,000 federal home loan bank loan out of Atlanta. This will specifically help Chatham County with some affordable housing work. I think it's for 22 owner-occupied units. This is something we went for and didn't get, so we tried again. We have to have a partner or sponsoring bank, which is the local government federal credit union that did that. So our thanks to that. The Chatham Housing Trust Fund and Rebuilding Together the Triangle and some CARES Act funding from DEQ is providing the matching funds. So it's actually a total of $700,000 that will be spent to help with affordable housing. And we hope that this will give us a good roadmap to then be able to hopefully do this in other counties as well. So right now it's Chatham, but hopefully we can extend that into other counties. I don't think Maya is still on, but Maya was successful in getting some money from EPA and the state DEQ to help with some septic tank repairs along the Rocky River watershed, which I believe is also in Chatham County. It's sort of a Chatham County themed report on some of this stuff, but sometimes it's in Chatham, sometimes it's Johnston, Moore, Wake, Durham, Orange, Lee, just depends on where we're working, but really proud of that as well. The other thing that I wanted to say before we get into sort of what I wanted to engage the board on is with the passage of the state budget, the COGS across North Carolina, I believe, are going to receive some rather significant funds to continue to help our local government members. Specifically, the budget includes $10 million to all 16 COGS. So we believe that we'll be receiving somewhere between $500,000 to $600,000. All that's to be determined. But this is for us to specifically help local governments with the American Rescue Plan. And so the General Assembly, and it was bipartisan, the governor supported it. They have sent a very clear message to the regional councils that they want us on the front lines, helping local governments figure out how to spend the money, account for the money, report the money, anything that our local governments need. We are going to have capacity and be able to offer services to you. So I just want to make you aware of that. We will continue to work on that and reach out to your staff. But there's a real expectation at the General Assembly that we use this money. And so we would hate to come back in a few years and say, well, none of our local government members have utilized us for service. So I just wanted to put that bug in your ear so you can be thinking about it as we approach your staff. This is the first time COGS have received a direct appropriation from the State General Assembly in over a decade. And so our ability to deliver on this is going to be really important going forward as we talk to the state about other initiatives. Also included in the budget bill is $6 million for the COGS to assist with disaster recovery. We're still trying to figure out exactly what that means and what our role is going to be, but it's another indication that that the General Assembly, and specifically, I just went blank. We had a specific House member that was very in the leadership, that was very pushing this very much for us. And so we're very appreciative to that. And we need to be thinking about how to move forward on that as well. So those are the state budget updates. The thing that I wanted to engage the board in for just a minute or two is one of the things we are talking about launching at the beginning of next year. We have, of course, a municipal election has just occurred. There will be a county election occurring next year. Every year we have newly elected officials in our 46 local governments. Not all of them are going to be delegates to the COG board, but we have new folks that are elected officials, and we want to provide an opportunity to bring those newly elected officials together within the region to meet each other, to begin making connections both with us, but to other regional organizations or other organizations that may be important for a newly elected official to know about in our region. This is different than the essentials course that the School of Government provides. That's all about law and public meeting notice and everything you need to know to be an elected official. This is more about making those connections with your colleagues from other local governments. And so I would love to know from you, reflecting back, what would you have hoped, who would you have hoped to have met? Maybe in an event like this, what would you have hoped to have gained from an event where we would bring together newly elected municipal and county officials among our 7-county region for an event, you know, an evening, 2-3 hours at most? Is there anything that we really need to make sure we pay attention to make it worth your while?
I feel like I'm repeating the same question we talked about food. Food got to go really basic because there are some council members that I work with that don't understand the importance of regionalism and regional partnerships. So, Lee, you're going to have to start at least the first 20 minutes at a basic level on. Because, I apologize that you have to do that, but I think that's important.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea. I really think that it would be important just to try to orient newly elected officials to what is a council of government. I am embarrassed to say I did not know, and it's a really important thing to know. So I think, introduction of you and your staff and what your roles and responsibilities are and the services you can offer, that would be really super helpful. And, in Durham, I know we're going to have some new, a new mayor and others. So I think it's a great idea. Perhaps others have a more basic understanding already than I did, but I don't know. I just don't know that council governments are, that it's that clear what that is to people.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Green.
I too think it's a great idea. I think if I were coming this as a newly elected official, I might like to see other more senior elected officials, maybe invite the mayors or a few mayors to have, people who could, if I were a brand new town council member in Chapel Hill, I probably would have loved to meet the Durham mayor or the Raleigh mayor, because, it's just to have that sense of who they are and for them to know who I am.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Deloach.
Yes, sir. I will say that, I had a discussion before, but I volunteered to do this We had a delegate. I don't know that we had a whole lot of participation from Wendell, so I jumped in kind of feet first, and honestly knew nothing about what I was getting myself into. It was the middle of COVID, and I showed up. Here I am, and I'm doing a lot of listening. I'm doing a lot of sharing from the meetings. But for me, I'm a relationship guy, and I really feel like the regional partnership aspect, especially here in Eastern Wake County, it's important because we're booming. We got a lot going on. I need those relationships with the Johnston County folks, Zebulon, Nightdale, and I think it's important, a saying that I always use is if I can talk it out, I can work it out. And a lot of times, emails don't really accomplish that. So I'm excited about meeting in person. I really would like a pretty basic, this is what we do. This is why we're here. We got tons of money coming. My golden retrievers are participating as well. We've got tons of opportunity, and I don't want to miss those opportunities. I don't want to miss the boat. I want to be well equipped to do what I need to do for my community, and certainly all of Eastern Wake County. So
Thanks, sir.
I'll put it on mute so my dogs don't annoy.
That's all right. Councilmember Gant.
Thanks, Lee. One thing I was thinking about was that might be a good opportunity to introduce people to other regional organizations, like in the case of Apex, knowing what Campo does, their responsibilities, maybe Go Triangle, some of these other organizations that maybe the towns may be a part of, but it's a little different than the COGs. And so maybe a COG 101 be the first thing you learn about, but also these other organizations have people there to talk about their responsibilities. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of our roles as the COG, it's not just about us, right? It's about the entire region and all the assets that the region has. And so I appreciate the discussion about maybe some senior, elected officials or other types of regional organizations coming in, and it not being, the way we envision it, and push back if you don't think this is right, is it's not 3 hours or 2 hours of lecture, right? Or there may be a little bit of that, but also some opportunities just to meet and greet and to maybe learn more about maybe floating around about the region, about your colleagues, and about other elected officials that are sort of in the same boat as you are, right? Newly elected, trying to learn it all. So getting contacts, making contacts, learning a little bit, but being able to leave knowing who you may be able to reach out to, almost like establishing some sort of cohort, right? We're all in this together. We're all new, but hey, we know now at least some folks we can reach out to for some assistance. Madam Chair, I don't want to take up too much time. If anybody else has any ideas, feel free to reach out to me, call me, email me. Would love to talk about if anybody else has ideas, but I want to be mindful of time, so I'll turn it back over to you, ma'am.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I think this is an extraordinarily exciting idea. It's beneficial, and it's something that I see taking a life of its own and becoming a very well-established offering that the COG does for the individuals in our region across municipalities, staff, electeds, partners, the whole 9 yards. So thank you. In terms of a chair report, very quickly, I just want to acknowledge our Lee, because as we were talking about the direct appropriations, many know, but many may not know that the General Assembly asked Lee to help write the legislation. That is a heck of a vote of confidence in the COGs, in our organizations, in Triangle J, and first and foremost, in our executive director. So I just want to reiterate that the opportunity we have on the COGS helping us is a direct result of the efforts of the COGS Legislative Committee, of the Elected Leaders Forum, of the regional COG directors in communication with the General Assembly. So I just wanted to put that forward. And that we will be having another forum meeting coming up in December. And just to reiterate that a meeting with our Senator Tillis's office, that any federal funding that your jurisdictions or folks in your community are looking to apply for, his office will write that letter of support and behind the scenes do what they can to help. So bring those dollars. If the dollars are there, we want them in North Carolina. And with that, I conclude. And for Around the Region, we are at Thanksgiving. And very quickly, what are you thankful for? And I will say that I am grateful that our communities are going to have some additional funding to address some critical needs. And we are using our ARPA funding for water, sewer, and we don't know yet, but most likely the rest of the funding, water and sewer. And I'm going to go around what I see. So Kevin, you're next.
I'm just thankful for the opportunity to serve and meet such great people and learn. And I will see you guys again. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. You have contributed greatly. I know you will continue service, and we will continue to keep in touch.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, Mark Wilson, I see you next.
Okay. I am most thankful for friends, my family, and most of all, my caregiver, who is my wife, as I travel the road of Parkinson's.
Thank you. And we are here to support you.
Thank you.
Sally, you are next.
Among other things, I'm grateful for the beautiful fall we're enjoying.
All right. Excuse me. Heidi. Commissioner Carter. Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
I'm thankful for the family being able to gather under certain conditions and protocols for Thanksgiving this year.
I think we all are. Steve, Mr. Rao.
Well, I'm thankful for the elections being over, and I'll be serving a 4th term, so I'm excited about that. Hopefully continue to serve on this board. I'm just thankful for the health of my parents, my wife, my children, and just pray for anyone who's lost a loved one through COVID or any illness. We know there's going to be an empty seat or two at the table this holidays. And I'm just grateful to be a part of a great team of leaders around the region, and look forward to doing great things as I begin, for me, a new decade of service. But can't believe I've been elected official for 11 years. So, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and God bless all of you.
Thank you. Mr. Deloach.
Thank you very much. I guess I'll piggyback on that and say I'm thankful that my term is not up until 23. So I'm thankful I didn't have to run. But yeah, I was actually born on Thanksgiving Day, so I have a birthday coming up. So thankful for that. Seeing another year for sure. Here in Wendell, we've got a ton going on. So I'm thankful for my town staff. Thankful for all they do to just make me look good in a lot of cases. We just received a budget award, which was great. We just cut a ribbon on a new fire station which is awesome. We're hiring economic development staff. I can't thank our town staff enough. So I'm gonna leave it at, I'm thankful for Town of Wendell staff.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith, Larry Smith.
Thank you, Kathleen. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm thankful for my faith, my family, my friends, and the opportunity to serve our community. It's very exciting to be a part of what's going on down here in Fuquay-Varina. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Curran.
Thank you, Kathleen. I think the three things I would mention that I'm probably most thankful for, one is I feel like this COVID thing may be close to getting behind us. Steve mentioned the people we lost and stuff doing that. So I'm thankful if that's the case. If it is getting behind us, I'm really thankful that we're moving forward. I know that some of the numbers are getting better. I think the second thing I would say from elected official standpoint is I'm thankful we're in a growing community. I think this whole COG area is really blessed, where we're situated, and all of our communities are growing. Some are faster than others, but I think I'm very thankful where we're located in our state, and this whole region is very. We all should be very thankful, I think. And then the last, and I think the most important thing to me is my family and our health. I just got a new granddaughter, first one. So, I met her the second time, and very, very thankful. We not only we're growing community, but my family's growing. So I can't be much more thankful than that.
Pretty amazing. Mr. McAllister.
I'm thankful for, of course, friends, family, the many blessings that have been bestowed on me, but particularly from an elected official standpoint, we have 3 council members, including Mayor Cheryl Oliver, who are stepping aside and moving on to other things at the end of this year. So I'm very thankful for 38 years of government experience that come from Mayor Oliver, Mayor Pro Tem Jacqueline Lacey, and Councilmember Ann Williams and Selma. As they move on to other things, they have left us in a good position to move forward.
Thank you. That is a fine tribute. Mr. Smith, Kurt.
Well, in light of this past year, we're thankful that Lee County has survived, and we've made some fantastic gains economically, and we're going to see a brighter future. So thank you. Oh, sorry.
We all have our furry friends join in. All right, Mr. McGrath. I don't see Sean. We'll get you if you come back. Oh, there you are.
I'm there. I was trying to actually turn on my video, but it doesn't want to work for me. I'm on temporary assignment. I'm actually coming to you from Germany this evening. So I'm thankful for this technology, but I'm not thankful to be up at 2 a.m. But I am thankful for friends and family and for what we have in Holly Springs. And even through all of this, as someone else just mentioned, the prosperity that we've been able to have with some great development things, economic development coming into Holly Springs, and a brand new hospital opening up in large part thanks to Mayor Dick Sears, who after 20 years of dedicated service to our town is stepping aside here next month. So been awesome to him, and a shout out for him.
Thank you. And thank you for your commitment at 2 a.m. That's whoa.
All good.
Thank you. Mr. Gant.
Yeah, so I think it's similar to others. I think COVID, in Apex at least, COVID, there were a lot of challenges with it. But through the last year and a half, we were able to progress and do some great things in town that I think a lot of jobs kind of just stopped, or they were lost. But the progress in Apex kept going. So I'm really thankful for that progress we made.
Thank you. Wilma.
Yes, hi. I'm thankful for family and friends, of course. I'm thankful for Tj Cox. I'm thankful for all that I learned from all of you. And I'm thankful that our police station is completed. Looks like we're going to do ribbon cutting before the end of the year. And I did watch the Clean Cities presentation, the anniversary, and I'm thankful that I was able to see that. I mean, it was a great presentation, and I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and hope we continue to do well with getting COVID behind us.
Fantastic. And Ms. Medley, and I'm sorry, Wilma, I didn't see your last name and I'm having a complete brain blip, so forgive me. Oh no, we lost. So I think we went through everyone. So with that, is there?
Madam Chair, I think Ms. Medley is on, and then I think Ms. Hogeman from Pinehurst is also on.
Fantastic.
So I think those are the remaining two.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We don't want to miss.
Yes,
Ms. Medley, I'm so sorry. Please
You're
forgive
fine.
me.
It'll be quick. I'm just thankful for the opportunity to serve my community. Definitely thankful for my board members and my mayor. Just thankful for all the people who have helped support myself and support our town, and how we hope that we are all supporting you in all the future endeavors for our community. So, and I'm obviously thankful for family. So thank you, and everybody have a happy holiday.
Thank you. And hang on. All right, who else am I missing?
I think it's the one that says Jane's iPad.
There we go. Thank you. So I am so sorry. Forgive me, Jane.
Yes, thank you so much. I am thankful for the fellowship, the exchange of ideas, and the support of the group. And I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. And I thank everyone. We are all blessed. We are we're all above ground. We're all very lucky, blessed, fortunate. I wish all a happy, blessed, prosperous, wonderful Thanksgiving. And with that, is there any other business?
Kathleen?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just make a statement if I could, please.
Yes, sir.
Last Thursday was Veterans Day. We had a ceremony in Archer Lodge at our Veterans Memorial. We had about 100 people attend. And for the last 6 years, I've been honored and privileged to write a poem or an informational piece. This year was the Forgotten Veterans. And I tried in this piece to tie the Forgotten Veterans with the COVID deaths of 725,000 plus people, of which there were veterans who will go forgotten largely. And then the Vietnam vet who came home to no welcome home. And some who ended up living in boxes on any street in any town in America, and for a large part commit suicide. And it was an honor for me to do that piece and include not just men, but women. There were 77 American nurses at the fall of Corregidor in World War II who were taken prisoner by the Japanese. And until their liberation, they went through all kinds of torment, I'm sure. But at their liberation, all 77 of them managed to stay alive. And the other forgotten people who were not veterans were the American women who stepped forward and went to war, if you would, in the factories, taking over the jobs of the men, building airplanes, flying the airplanes from one coast to the other coast to deliver them. And as I say, I was honored to do the piece and just wanted to mention it. Thank you.
Thank you. I know in years past you have shared your poems with the COG. If you would like to, you're welcome to. You're no command performance, no pressure, but I want to give you that opportunity if you wish.
Well, if you want to hear it, I have a copy here somewhere. Let's see. Come on, right. I can't guarantee that I've got a complete one here. In my mind, my deepest thoughts, I wonder who was and who was not. My mind may wander to World War I and Verdun, and it may also wander to what happened in the Ardennes. I could not forget, my mind was telling me, of all the men at Pork Chop Hill. And of course, were the men of Tet. How could we forget how much they gave to in their fights at Tet? I'm sorry here. This piece the price they paid, and yet when the Vietnam veterans came home, there was no welcome. When they did actually come home, they were spat upon, and many of them now, as I say, turned up living in boxes on the streets on any town in America. I saw the American flag lowered to half staff in recognition of 13 American servicemen who were killed assisting in an evacuation in Afghanistan. And for all those who were received and welcomed home, the grateful nation often bowed their head out of respect. And as I began to write this piece, I went deep into my mind thinking of what I knew. And I soon found out that my 80-year-old mind still had a lot to learn. The men that were in the Forced March and the Bataan Death March, and as I mentioned before, the 77 nurses who were taken prisoner at the fall of Corregidor. And then I address also the American veterans who were buried in foreign lands and American cemeteries. And unless a cemetery has a person of notoriety, such as General Patton in Luxembourg, where Americans and tourists often come, there are other smaller American cemeteries located throughout Europe who often go unnoticed. And they are classed in my category of forgotten veterans. If it were not enough for returning Vietnam veterans, I think I've already went ahead of myself here. Add to the all of this, you will find women who have served their country at posts in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, as years after year add up, the men and women of America's past line up and begin their long march into history. I ask that the veterans here today and anywhere make contact with these senior veterans. Make contact with them, see what they have to offer you. Their database is something, and we ought not to forget that. and make contact and tell the people what you've learned from them. In the, let me end this here before I mess it up some more. Americans now find themselves in a different battle, one fighting an enemy the likes of which we have never seen before. We are now involved in a medical war on a medical battlefield. The death toll continues to rise, 725,000 plus American lives. And much controversy surrounds the death toll numbers, but that being as it may, we still must not forget that amongst these 725,000 were American veterans as well. And not just American veterans, but that figure is mind-boggling. We ought not forget the parents and children who have passed this terrible, horrific medical battlefield war. While we are remembering America's veterans, we should also remember the new American heroes. Those being the doctors, the nurses, the allied medical personnel who served during this pandemic. And then I want to say I thank each and every one of you for attending the Archer Lodge Veterans Memorial Ceremony on Veterans Day. And remember to keep hope alive, and peace will reign throughout his kingdom. Thank you. It was rather ad-libbed here at times, but that's basically what I had in it and what I said.
Thank you, Mark. Every time you have shared that, it gives all of us something to be thoughtful about and thankful for. And I appreciate all who have allowed me to share this with you if you have never had the honor of hearing Mr. Wilson's poems. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mark Wilson.
I second that, Kevin Drum.
Thank you. And shall we roll call out?
That's not necessary for an adjournment, Madam Chair.
Hallelujah. I never remember which meeting I have to do the roll call out and which one I don't. So thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. Informative meeting, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
And those